What is going on, and welcome back to another episode of Skedaddle. I am your host, Isaiah, and we have a very, very special guest here today. Someone who has been very active in the community via radio for a long time. If you are from the Stockton area, you know his voice for sure. We have the man himself, Lucas.
Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? Like 20 years on KWIN.
20 years on KWIN?
Yeah, just about 20 years.
I literally been listening to you since I was little, man.
Yeah.
I remember. That is so crazy, man. Can we get the nostalgic DJ call out?
Oh, yeah. 97.7, 98.3 KWIN.
Oh, my gosh. That's
there
so cool.
Yeah.
So we have Lucas here because Lucas is not only a radio host, he does a couple of things. Tell us a little bit about what you do. I know you mentioned that you work in the school district, right?
Yeah. So I work in the Lincoln School District at Brookside Elementary. I work the lunch hour, so I get to, hang out with the kids. Kind of like I guess you'd call it a lunch monitor or, whatever, yard duty.
Yeah.
So I do that, and I try to mentor the kids as well while I'm there. And, I've seen some amazing stories of students going on to do great things. Some Lincoln students that are doing great things are Brett Sullivan plays for the San Diego Padres. Jonah Coleman's at the University of Washington right now. And if you get the college football game, he's one of the top running backs. Jonah Coleman straight out of Lincoln High School. So a lot of great talent has come. I mean, there's been kids that have won Grammy Awards out of Lincoln High School. So.
It's wild, man. And it's weird because I was coaching basketball for a time. I've hung up that hat because I have too many hats.
Yeah.
And one of the players that I was coaching, I don't even want to say that. It has nothing to do with my coaching skills. This guy was just an athlete from the jump. He was just gigantic, like 5'11", already 200-something pounds in middle school.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah, he was built like a man. And he was playing for the Trojans. That's what he was doing. And now that he's in high school, he's just athletic as heck, man. And I just see him going to the NFL. It's going to be a story. And I can just say, yeah, I coached him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, take full credit. Take full credit.
I'm going to just like, yeah,
he
wouldn't be here without me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This episode, before I forget, is sponsored by Life Aid, which is the maker of Fit Aid energy drink. If you haven't already, please go to the notes of the show and check out a link on how you guys can get yourself one.
I love energy drinks. So
I love energy
I need to
drinks.
try that, yeah.
I will give you. Have you had?
No, I haven't had it. I will
get one for you right now, actually.
Yeah, heck yeah. Gotta always have the energy, so. Oh, yeah. Especially, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and, I go all day. Oh, right on. Look at that. Oh, it's nice and cold, too.
Oh, yeah. Straight from the pool.
Yeah. Fit Aid, I love it. Low calorie and all.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Love it.
That was one of the first things, by the way, that actually, I reached out to, because we know when you're, brand spanking new to, the whole... whatever you're trying to do, trying to get someone to be a sponsored, someone to, send you something. It falls on deaf ears. They look at your followers. You're like, you got 10 followers, kid. No one wants to talk to you. And I reached out to them, and they were so nice. Is
it local or is it national?
I think they're located in California. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, but it's not like a local Stockton.
No, they're not.
It's a pretty good deal.
It's a good brand.
Yeah,
they're amazing.
It's a big deal.
They make a bunch of stuff too. They have sleep aid. So if you need to they have a melatonin drink and everything. But that one's specifically for a recovery drink. And I reached out, shot my shot. They said yes. I had zero clout.
Well, I'm going to actually drink this after my workout. I'm running it about noon today, and then I'm lifting at 4:30. So I'll definitely have this after my lift.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Speaking of lifting, man, so you look great.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
You look great. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple or any other podcasts, you guys can't see Lucas right now.
Look at that.
This guy right now, he's got the guns out, man. You've lost some weight.
Yeah, I lost 30 pounds. I'm 141 pounds.
You're 141 pounds?
I was 171 on February 19th. I weighed in at 171, and I'm 141 today.
Holy cow. That is...
Thank you.
That is massively impressive. That 30 pounds, man.
Yeah, 30 pounds.
So what have you been doing? Because I know that you run. So what is it? Just running?
No, I run. I lift and I eat clean. So I changed my diet up and I started eating 6 times a day. I eat 5 ounces of ground turkey, chicken or fish, and then I have sweet potato, like a half a cup of sweet potato, and a full cup of vegetables, and I eat that 6 times a day.
Yeah.
And the weight just started coming off, and then running and then going out, running like 10 miles or 8 miles or, during the week, each day I usually run about 3 miles, and the weekends I run my long runs.
Yeah.
And then mix that in with some lifting, and the weight comes right off. It's amazing how it works that way.
That is crazy. Okay. So let's dive more into that though. Cause I'm very, very curious, right? Because, I was a wrestler back in high school, so that was my sport of choice.
Yes, you know all about weight loss.
I know about weight loss, but, as you get older, it's known as these, throw the pounds off. So they say. So you're running 10 miles and such. You're still doing 6 meals a day. Do you find that it's harder to keep your appetite under control as you work out? For those that might be listening.
Well, if you're eating 6 times a day, not really, because your body's trained, so your body gets used to the eating, and obviously, I'm not a saint. I cheat once in a while, I'll go out and I'll get my cheat meal, and then that actually, believe it or not, like shocks the system, which makes the fat come off even quicker.
Yeah.
It's so weird how the body works. But, I call BS on the age.
Okay.
I do. I call BS on the age. I'm 52. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. I did not know. Okay, so I kind of knew somewhere because you sign up for the runs.
Yeah.
And your age shows, but like I don't have time to look at all those
exactly.
all those details. So I've always wondered because like this guy's ageless. So
so how the whole thing started. I was obsessed with Lenny Kravitz. So I was watching the Grammy Awards with my son. I love Lenny Kravitz. So I'm watching the Grammy Awards in February, and Lenny Kravitz is on there. I don't realize it's him.
Yeah.
And my son goes, "Oh, there's Lenny Kravitz." I said, "No, that's somebody that looks like him." Because I didn't realize he grew his hair out again. So he had long hair. I'm like, that's what he looked like in 1991.
Yeah.
That's not him. And they went over and interviewed him, and it was Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah.
And I was talking at the gym, with Lurasol and Esteban, and I was talking about Lenny Kravitz, and Esteban said to me, you could be Lenny Kravitz. I was like, nah, I'm 52 years old. I mean, he's got good genes. He goes, you could, 12 weeks. He goes, do this. And, and we mapped out the meal plan with Lurasol.
Yeah.
And bam, all of a sudden the weight started. I went from 171 down to 165, then 161, then 157, and 151. Then when I got under 150, I'm like, this is crazy. And then one day I woke up and I'm 141 pounds. And I'm like, I've lost 30 pounds.
That is crazy.
And I'm 52 years old. And that's when I realized that, it's not age that stops us from losing weight. It's the fact that we don't stay disciplined. That, so the 6 meals a day, you eat 6 meals a day, keep it clean, then do your cheat day once a week, and then you make your cheat day count. Let me tell you, my cheat meals are amazing. Oh yeah, it's like it's the best of the best. And it's crazy how it works. I definitely know that it's easier for men to lose weight than it is for women.
This is true. Yeah.
So I can't talk for women, but for men, it is a lot easier for us. So we should do it. And it's amazing how your vitals change. My blood pressure would always be around 130 over 71, and now I'm 110 over 68.
Wow, that is great.
So I donated blood one day, and the lady's like, "Wait a second, you're not the same person."
Yeah, I know.
My weight was down, my blood pressure was perfect. Yeah, so
that is perfect blood pressure, man. That is great. Yeah. So do you feel like that? Just give me a timeline for how long it took for you to get those 30 pounds off.
So 30 pounds, it took me from February 19th up until
today.
Yeah, I think I weighed 141 on July 1st. So to get the 30 off was from February 19th till July 1st. But I was about 147 after 12 weeks. So I went from 171 to 147 in 12 weeks.
That is impressive, man. So in your diet, right? Because you were saying ground turkey, chicken, some sort of like protein, right?
Yeah.
And you couple it with half a cup of carbs, like a sweet potato.
Yeah.
Okay. And then a full cup of veggies?
A full cup of veggies.
6 times?
Six times a day.
That is impressive. Do you ever feel too full? Like do you ever get just 5 in there, or does it always have to be 6?
Sometimes there's 5. On days where on my days off where I run in the morning, I usually will cut my meals down to 5, and I'll just have a protein bar before my run, because you don't want to. I don't want to eat ground turkey, broccoli, and sweet potatoes before a run. So the Saturday and Sundays when I'm running in the morning, I switch it up just a little bit. And cheat days, I switch it up. I'm not eating 6 meals on a cheat day.
Oh, okay.
A cheat day, I'll probably have a protein bar, do my run, and then have my cheat meal, and then have one more meal after that, right before bedtime.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, That is impressive work right there.
But
no, that goes back to the point you were saying, discipline. I think that it is hard to lose weight, period, for most people because they feel like time, right? If you factor in the fact that, and most people are working nowadays, and if they are working, like, how do I have the time to prep this kind of stuff? So do you prep your meals like for the week, or do you do it by the day for like 3 days? That's a lot of meals.
It is. It's by the day. So what I'll do is, because it is overwhelming. So the first week, that's where I was overwhelmed because I'm like, all I'm doing is cooking.
Yeah.
What do I can't? I just cooking.
Out of the dang kitchen.
I was like so annoyed. I was like, the thing that's going to stop me from doing this is the fact that I'm constantly cooking. But then you get down in a system. So, I would cook my meals on a weekend. I cook turkey, chicken and fish and, cook all of that. And, I do my meals by the day. So I'll have it all in the containers, like the chicken and fish, and then I'll start, taking little bits and pieces of here, putting it in my meal. And then when I run out, then I cook again.
Yeah.
So it's not as overwhelming that way, but it was brutal. The first week was awful.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. That is a back to discipline, like you got to be disciplined to cook it. You got to be disciplined to eat it. You got to be disciplined to not have cheat meals every day.
And seasoning is your friend.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. You gotta. So do you switch up the different seasonings?
I got lemon pepper.
For this day, and then this one you have like some Cajun chicken or something to kind of like break up the spice. Okay, that's cool. What does your water intake look like throughout this process?
I try to drink a gallon before noon.
A gallon before noon?
Yeah, before noon. So I'm up early. So I get up at 4. So it's 8 hours.
Okay.
So a gallon in 8 hours, and then everything I get after that is, it's great. It's just it's just adding
extra.
to it. Yeah. So I try to get a gallon in before noontime.
Holy cow!
I go to the bathroom a lot.
I imagine. Yeah.
The most frustrating part about it is the other people, the people around you, because that's the thing that stops you from being great. And I hang out with a lot of elite people. Like I hang out with you, George Sagoon's running. So all these people I hang out with are elite and they're running. Mm-hmm. And then when you start to get the people that aren't into it, they don't understand.
Yeah. And
they're like, why can't you eat this? Why won't you eat this? You've lost weight. You need to put on weight. You look sick. You're going to lose all your muscle. I mean, dude, and you've probably gotten this too. Like when you say you run, you're going to lose all your muscle if you run.
Yeah.
It's not true.
No.
It's not true. It's and there are people that say, and a lot of times we have to look in the mirror. You know, a lot of people say, well, I lost weight and I lost all my muscle. It's like, well, you didn't have muscle. The problem was you just looked bigger.
Yeah.
But then when you lost your weight, the fat went away, and you didn't have muscle to begin with. So you should probably
that's what's underneath.
So my muscle was hiding under my fat because I did work out. That was the thing that Esteban had told me, because you work out, you do everything right, but you're just not eating correctly.
Yeah.
And once you start eating correctly, you'll start to see results.
Yeah. I remember, I say the biggest weight loss experience I've ever had was in the wrestling season. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was like 215 pounds. So,
wow, I never.
Yeah, I was a little biggin.
You weren't a runner ever until recently.
I was not a runner until recently. Well, not until 2019. So
and now you're flying and you're doing. You just fly.
I'm trying, man.
You're flying out there.
And so I remember I got into wrestling because my friend, two people. One was my friend Megan, right? She was a wrestler, and she weighs like maybe 108 pounds, I think is what she weighed. Like super tiny, like little rubber band. She can do flips and twirls and all this jazz. And she told me one day, she's like, I can flip you if I wanted to. And I was like, okay. I'm literally double your mass. Like that, there's no way. And she grabbed my arm and my back was on the floor. And I was like, how did you do that? And she's like, oh, it's just wrestling. You learn how to move someone's weight around. And I was like, I got to learn how to do that. But I didn't want to jump into it because obviously I'm a big guy. That's not my thing. And I joined weight training class with my PE teacher, Coach Ward. Shout out to him. He's been one of my biggest motivators. And in there, I had this guy named Ramon Gomez. If you're watching this, man, you're one of the inspiration stories. You don't even know about it. Ramon, we were doing bench presses, right? And Ramon was like, hey, I'm going to get my max up to this. And I was like, yeah, no, you're not, dude. Like, there's no way you're not going to pass me. It's not going to happen. And one day he just jumped up by 5 pounds on his bench press. The next day, 10 and then 15. And he passed me up. And I was like, how? He goes, oh, I joined wrestling. And I was like, dang it, man. So I joined wrestling. I went out there. I ran. I threw up. It was not a good time. I was not
Those workouts are brutal. Wrestling's the worst. Wrestling's the worst workouts ever.
It is the hardest sport I've ever tried to.
Ever.
Even to like this running, like people talk about the discipline you need to have.
Wrestling is brutal.
It is hard. You're wrestling your own mass for 6 minutes, which seems like a short time, but it's
it's awful. It's the longest 6 minutes of your life.
It's the longest 6 minutes of your life. I'm just like, oh God, it's only been a minute and a half. And so I get out there, we do the wrestling workouts and everything, and finally I get to the point where we have our first match, and I lose bad, because everyone else in my weight class has come down into this weight class, and they're solid people. I'm just a flubby guy, like I'm not prepared for this. And so I just keep losing, and I'm like, I'm going to quit. My mom's like, no, just try it out a little bit longer. And Coach Ward was like, no, just keep doing Stowers. You got this. And so I was like, all right. And so it was my first match, and I was going against Stag. I remember the match very clearly. And we had like 4 or 5 coaches. I don't know why we had so many, but there was like the Espana family took over. There was like Bob, there was Julio, there's all the Españas were the coaches, but Coach Ward was my PE teacher / weightlifting teacher / football coach who also does wrestling. These guys are man of many hats. And the Españas were just yelling all these stuff. Stowers, intestinal fortitude. You need to do all these like motivational things on the sideline. I can't hear any of that when I'm out there. I can't hear. It's just noise. And Coach Ward told me, he just like very quietly was like, Stowers. And I heard it. He's like, he just did this motion. And I just followed him, and I did it. And he's like, lead with your head. And I led with my head, and then boom, had him pinned. And they were like, beep.
And you're like, yeah.
And I won, and I was like, yeah, And so from there, Coach was like, you did it. You got this, Stout. You can do it. He's like, you have the technique. He's like, you have the muscle. He's like, you just need to shape it up a little bit. And so he's like, do you want to go to another weight class? And I was like, I guess, I don't know what that's going to take. So I started running, changed up my diet. Metabolism finally kicks in, And so I went from 215 to 190.
Wow.
And then I dropped down to 182. I can't remember all the weight classes, but I was in 189 weight class, and I was in I dropped out in 180s. Now I'm in the 170s. I ended up getting down to 165 pounds in one season.
It was crazy.
It was I had so much skin. It was crazy. It was like a weird, and like from there, I just started like, okay, well now I want to shape up. And so then I got up to 170, and I was jacked.
Ripped.
I was
ripped.
I was big,
ripped.
like they do the little body fat percentage thing, and I was at I think it was like 7% body fat. I was jacked.
Straight athlete.
Yeah, but that was the first moment in my life when I realized, to get back to our story, you can do it. It just takes a lot of discipline.
And it doesn't matter the age.
And it doesn't matter the age. And so I was motivated from then on to like, okay, I don't want to get back there. I don't want to get back to 215. How do I keep that off? And so throughout my life, I've done, wrestling. From that point, I was like trying to transition to do something else, and it wasn't really working out as well. And so my friend Paula was the one that invited me to do the half marathon, the Golden Gate half, and the story's been history ever since. Here we are.
That's a tough half. That's a lot of hills in that Golden Gate half.
Well, mile 3 is where the hills start to kick in. It's very deceiving. The first 2 miles, you're just kind of flowing down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's just straight up to get up to the bridge.
Worst hill ever. That's the worst hill ever.
People are like almost crawling. It's like, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It smells beautiful because there's eucalyptus trees everywhere.
That's the most. So for the San Francisco Marathon, when I did that, the lady lied to me.
Yeah.
So, because, you run over the Golden Gate Bridge and run through Sausalito and the forts and all that. So,
and
then you come up and the hill's it's like fat.
Yeah.
So, I got to the top. I'm dying. And the lady goes, well, that's your last big hill.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, don't worry about it. And then it was nonstop hills after that.
Yeah, well, a similar person told me, like, when I was trying to get up the hill for mile 3, they're like, come on, just get over this hill, and then after that, it's just flat. It's just the bridge. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. That makes sense. The Golden Gate half, you go under the bridge, and then you got to get back onto the bridge. So there is another hill. Why did you lie to me?
Yeah, and the bridge is a hill.
Yeah. And
the bridge is a damn hill.
I'm like, what are you talking about? So that was kind of like the backstory behind like my weight loss journey. But thank you for sharing, man. Like, it's cool to hear your story and how the weight loss worked out for you, and that there you have it, guys. It's a matter of discipline, not age, and applying yourself is the key to getting to where you want to be.
100%. Everybody can do it. Anybody can do it. It's just it's mind over matter, and that's how everything is in life.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where if you can make it through the first week, you got it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man. Well, you've made it. You made it clear. So I'm also going to try to shave down a little bit.
Like, are you going to shred a little bit? Or?
I'm going to shred it just a little bit. I want to try to get like 15 pounds down, I think is what I want to get to, because I'm pushing like 180 right now. And I want to get to like a good mid 160s. I think that's where I want to be. That's my sweet spot.
You know what's crazy? You're already fast, but once you start shredding, it's like my mile times. I was like an 11, 12-minute mile guy and a half, and my last half, I was just barely over 10 minutes for the half.
Oh man,
10-minute miles. So so it's
shaved off a minute and a half, almost 2 minutes.
So I'm hoping. Are you doing the Giants race coming up? I'm doing that one.
I got to finish talking with the people because I was going to do some content for them. But that's on my list.
I'm doing that one. And actually, the 10K I did for you. Yeah. My mile time was under 9 minutes.
That was your PR, you said, right?
That was my PR, and I was running it, and I looked, and I'm like, wait a second here. I'm going way too fast. But I said, I'll just run until I die. And, and I think my mile time was like 8:45. Yeah. For that race. And
holy cow!
That was the first race where I was really flying.
You were taking off, man. Yeah. Cool, man. And you're just dropping the sweat. I saw you were doing it, man.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Awesome, cool. So we're gonna go to a quick break. After we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit with Lucas about what does mental health look like for him, and what are some races that are coming up. So stay tuned. And we are back with the second half of our podcast for today with the greatest man, Lucas, in the morning.
Yes.
Which we are in the morning, by the way, if you guys are watching this. Yeah. So what we did over the break was we kind of started talking a bit about injuries, about health, and I wanted to talk with you a little bit before we jump into all that. I kind of wanted to know your backstory because I've always known you as Lucas in the morning. Yeah. And then recently I've known you as like Lucas the running guy who's lost 30 pounds and looks amazing. Can you tell me a little bit how you got into radio? Like, how did that become a thing, and how did you become Lucas?
So I always loved radio. I love radio. Like, I mean, who didn't, right? I mean, especially like, I'm a lot older than you. Like that's all we had. Like, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have any of that. So radio was how, I listened to music, and I used to think those guys were absolutely unbelievable. Rick Chase on KMEL, Evan Luck, all those guys in San Francisco. I used to call into the KMBR sports phone at night and talk about the Giants and A's and all that stuff. So I loved radio. And then I went to college in Boston, and I was actually interning at the State House because I was going to go to law school and be a lawyer. Yes, I was going to be a lawyer. Interesting. Very responsible career, very upstanding career, and then maybe delve into politics. That was kind of my role. So I was interning for a state senator in Massachusetts, and working at the State House, wearing a shirt and tie and shoes when I go into my internship, and treated like crap because that's what they do. And then my RA, Gavin Spittle, came to me and said, hey, there's a opening at the radio station, midnight to 6, Friday night and Saturday night, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. Yeah. You want to do it? Pays $8 an hour. I'm like, yeah, why not, right? It's fun. I'll do it. It'll be a cool thing to do. So I went in and did it. And, I'm seeing all these people, and they have a career in it. And they're surviving, they're making money, and it was so much more fun than being at the State House, and a lot more fun than graduating from college and going to law school. So I continued with college and worked at the radio station, and then the day I graduated, I was offered a full-time job, and I took it, and ever since then, that was 30 years ago.
Wow.
I've been on the radio for 30 years, and my first thing that I wanted to do was see the country, so I'd apply for all of these jobs in weird places. Like I worked in Boston, Vermont, Miami, Denver, and of course Fresno, Stockton, Visalia, and Wichita, Kansas. That was a weird one.
Oh, really?
that was not fun. But it was great. I got to see the country, and then you reach your early 30s, and it's time to settle down, have a family and stuff. So settled to KWIN, and have been KWIN ever since.
Wow, man, that is a great story, dude. I did not know, because obviously, like, for anyone that's like doesn't know about me, I'm 33, and to see you literally for what, 20 years you said I've been on the radio?
Yeah.
So that's what, since I was in middle school?
Yeah.
So my middle school years were the times where I was hearing you in the morning, man.
Yeah, you were on your way to middle school, and I was on there rocking the mic.
More specifically, I remember hearing your voice on the way, because I went to Chavez. So I lived over on like the north side, but I was still commuting all the way to Chavez because I was supposed to go to Bear Creek because I went to Delta Sierra Middle School.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to go to Bear Creek. Not the best student when I was at Delta Sierra. And so my mom was like, okay, if you're going to school at Bear Creek, you need to make a decision. Are you going to be hanging out with these same kids and making the same kind of, rash decisions, or do you want to like do something else? And I was like, I think I want to do something else because I was smart, but I was just hanging around with the tough crowd. And I was like, I don't want to do something else. But Chavez was just being built at the time. And so I was like, I want to go to that school because I saw it getting built. Actually, sorry, it was McNair getting built. And I was like, I want to go there because it looked massive, right? It was huge. Yeah. McNair took longer to build than they thought. And so Chavez was getting done earlier. And so I was like, all right, I'll just go over there instead. I want to start like brand spanking new. And so I went to Chavez, and my mom would drive me all the way out there. That's how she was like, all right, if you want to do this, we'll do this. And it's like a 15-minute car ride with all that traffic. Most kids are just walking to school, and so every morning, we didn't have we had like a Suburban, and my mom had like one of those, this is dating myself, but those massive CD changers.
Oh
the seats or whatever. Yeah. And we would have all these CDs in there, but we've gone through all of them on all of our car rides. And so we would just listen to KWIN and the KJOY, KJOY. But in the mornings, we would just hear you in the morning. You and Amanda King, man.
Yeah, back in the day, yeah.
And when I first met Amanda King, by the way, just a little side bit for a second. I was so taken because I had never seen her face. This is before you guys were doing all of your stuff on Facebook Live and all of that. And I heard her because she came to Chavez, and I heard her voice. And my ears went because I had just heard her like an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And I turned around. I was like, "Oh my gosh, man!" I was like blown. She was like a celebrity, right? She is the icon of like the radio in our area. And so I was like, "That is so." And I was so excited to meet her. Flash forward, I meet my wife, and I meet George and all of them, and you guys are all buds. And Vanessa was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Amanda King's house for her birthday," and I was like, "You're gonna go where?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Amanda King's house," and they're just nonchalant about it because they've known her for so long. And so that's actually where I first met you.
Oh, was it at the birthday party?
It was at her birthday party at her house, and I remember talking to her, and it's just her voice sounds, of course, the same as it would on radio. So just hearing her talk is just like weird, putting a name to a face. And all of a sudden, I heard you laugh like behind me, and I was like, "Wait, I know that voice." And I turned around and I'm talking to a group of people. I don't know who they were, not relevant. And you're talking, and you're like, "Hey man, how's it going?" It's Lucas. And I was like, Lucas in the morning. And I was like, it was like the craziest celebrity experience, because normally when you meet a celebrity, you see them on TV and everything. But seeing you guys in person was like so crazy because I'm finally putting a face to a voice.
Yeah, I miss that magic of radio where you don't know what we look like.
Yeah,
because now everybody's got social media.
Yeah.
So Rick Chase on KMEL, I used to hear him and I never knew what he looked like. And then when you see him, you're like, wow. Yeah. Because you hear the voice and it's like, I'm Rick Chase. I'm like, oh wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So diving back into what I was going to talk about, which is mental health.
Yes.
So you're on the radio. You hear a lot of people that call in.
Yeah.
You hear, all the different songs on the radio. How much of what you hear, based on all of those different avenues, how much do you think that mental health plays a part in us, like on an everyday? And how do you use like running and working out as a way to kind of offset that?
Yeah. I've definitely had with mental health. I suffer from imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah,
about that.
Yeah.
So you never think.
That's me, man.
So yeah, I've suffered from that my entire life. I'm better about it now, but it really messed me up bad. Because I was on the radio, I was performing well. I never gave myself credit. I always thought, when are they going to find out that I'm not really good at this?
Yeah.
And it's so hard to overcome that. I don't know why we get it, because a lot of people have it. I never even heard the term until a few years ago, and I'm like, wow, that's what I have. Yeah, so even going back to like high school track, Sonny Roback was my coach, and he would get so annoyed with me because I was so good during practice. I was so fast during practice. And then race time would come, and I would choke. And he told my friend, he goes, he needs a sports psychologist. he's not well in the head. There's something wrong with him, and that was the theme for a long period of time. Like I just never felt I'd measure up with anything, and even like with girls, I'd be shocked when a good looking girl would like flirt with me. I'm like, are you messing with me? So radio helped me develop a lot of confidence. As people start talking about you're good, you're really good. So radio definitely help with my mental health. Of course, the people that call up and yell and say you suck, those the haters, they don't help. But there is a lot of growth that happened with radio. Same thing with running, and the weight loss. That definitely helped a lot with my mental health. It's made me a lot happier being slimmer and in shape than it was when I was overweight.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. And thank you for sharing that. I think the imposter, it's. I don't know how many other people it affects. Definitely affected me.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. It's an awful thing to have.
And you spiral. And, from there, I started out in acting. So that was my thing. I did theater in high school. And that was kind of my release because, like I said, I was goofing around in middle school. And it was kind of my release to realize, like, the facade that I was putting on in middle school was exactly that, And if I'm going to put these acting skills to use, might as well get on stage and do something with it. And so I acted, from sophomore year all the way to senior year. It was the theater president. And I transitioned that to doing HBO and stuff with the Brave New Voices on HBO, doing slam poetry and doing stuff in the city, slam poetry champion, all of those things. But no matter what, no matter how good I got, right, even being the All Cities Poetry Slam champion for 2 years in a row. I think the first person to do that. I don't know if anyone's done it since then. And being on the news, being on all these different things, I never, ever felt like what I was doing was either really me or that, like, I'm like, but like, I didn't do this. I goofed on this part of the poem. I never really could just... Or like I would see all these other people because when you go off to HBO, Brave New Voices, are you familiar with Brave New Voices?
I know this. Yeah, I know.
Okay. All these cities are competing. Stockton's very small compared to. I didn't know because big fish, little pond. We go out to Brave New Voices and there's a team from Philadelphia who is absolutely
next level.
But they have a whole program building them up. We're small. We're like performing at like the Plea for Peace. When it was like a little rinky-dink little place, and we don't have like the foundations. We had Tama Brisbane who was doing like her damnedest to like get us there and everything, but we didn't have like the crazy resources that Team New York had and Chicago and Philly and I remember we were going into a bout against DC. And what was the name of the team over there? It was Twin Cities. Twin Cities. And there was this guy who's now probably one of my favorite rappers on Spotify, George Yamazawa. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's from North Carolina. He's amazing. And I remember him doing a poem in there. And once he performed, I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And I already had the imposter syndrome. And I already felt like I wasn't, good enough. But once I saw all of this, and I was like, this is only confirming I'm a fraud. Like there's no way I shouldn't. So I got back to Stockton. I was like, I shouldn't have won. I shouldn't have been claimed like I shouldn't have got all those like newspaper articles. And then all that translates later on in life when I start doing like event hosting and doing all these like things for the community. I freak out when a little bit closer as we get, and like when I freak out, like I'd stop drinking water, and I don't know why, like my skin gets like dry, and so I'm freaking out the closer we get to like event day because I'm worried that any hiccup, someone's gonna be like upset, someone's gonna like realize like this guy doesn't have like a huge running experience. Like he's a fraud. He doesn't even know like, nutrition like the way that I know nutrition, all those different things. And I get into my head, man. And luckily I have the team around me that I do because they just confirm. Garth is amazing. My whole team in Skedaddle that does a great job. Dia, Vani, Arian, Joaquin, Aveline. All of them do such a great job confirming like I'm doing something positive. And obviously my wife too. And those conversations that we have at night where I'm like, should I have done this? What's the plan for this? Like, what should I try to go for, another run? Hey, we goofed up big time on this last event, like the Talk of the Town, the very first one that we ever did. We started like an hour and a half late, because of all these different things. I'm like, oh gosh, and like people were coming up, making comments and stuff. And they're all valid. They were all valid comments. You started late. It's hot now, and, I was like, we should just not do it again. People are going to realize this. They're going to realize this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And that's just in my head the entire time. And I have to fight those thoughts and remember, like, you've done this before. You've done it before. You've done other runs. You've had successes. Don't let the little things dictate, your trajectory in this. Like you're learning, but you're not an imposter. You're getting better each time.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to cite the source too. Like when somebody says something to you, I always think about there was this guy. He used to run like this on the track team. Yeah. And he said something to me, and I said to Mr. Brochi, who was the coach, I said, this guy said, he goes, "Well, do you want to run like him?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Well, don't listen to him."
Oh.
Because I thought that was definitely, you got to take the source into account. So many times I've said to people, because, we come up with ideas in radio and somebody will say, well, it's not a bad idea. I'm like, okay, cool. What's your idea? Well, okay, well, if you don't have an idea, then we kind of have to go with my idea, right?
Right.
Because it's like, so when people are saying stuff about the race, it's like, well, throw your own race.
Yeah.
I'm out. I mean, I think every one of your races has been amazing. I didn't even realize, because I was at the first Talk of the Town, I didn't even realize it was, looking back now, I didn't even know there was a delay. Yeah. So I had no idea. So it's like, you do an amazing job. Every race has gotten better and better and better and bigger and bigger and bigger. I think you do a fantastic job. So
thanks, man.
Yeah. So sometimes you got to look at the people and go, oh, okay, well, throw your own race and we'll see how that goes for you.
Absolutely. It's a lot of work.
It's great. I would never want to. I'd never want to. I'll tell you this. There's one thing for sure. I'm never throwing a race. I'll go to them, but I'm not going to throw one. That's a lot of work.
I remember talking to, when I first got into this, Tony from Fleet Feet.
Yeah.
Tony, I told him I wanted to do races and stuff. And he laughed and he's like, all right. He's like, if you want to do that, he's like, I'm going to send you a pamphlet, a PDF that has all the stuff that you need to do to get started for the race. And I was like, okay. He goes, it's a lot. I'm telling people coming to me all the time asking them, start a race. I give them the pamphlet and I don't hear back from them. He's like, so if you really want to do it, he's like, read it over. If you still feel like you want to do it, he's like, call me again. And I was like, okay. So he sent me all the information. It's a lot of stuff. And so I'm going through it and I'm looking a little overwhelmed and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So I think I could do that. Okay. AMR needs to be present. Okay. I can get that. Water stations. All right. Well, this is when I was going under the name Star Wars Does It All, right?
Yeah.
Which I've slowly been phasing out of because there's no way Star Wars can do it all. It's just impossible. And so I started realizing, okay, this is what I need. I need to have someone here for that, someone here for that, someone here for that. And so I called Tony back and he's like, hey, what's up? And I was like, hey, so I looked over the PDF and I think I just need bibs. And so he laughed and he goes, I got bibs for you, man. He's like, I'll get your bibs. And I was like, okay. He's like, oh, how much is it? He goes, I'm going to sponsor you for the bibs. He's like, I'll take care of that. He's like, you take care of all the other stuff. He's like, I got you, man. And so he's like, you're going to have a lot on your plate. And I was like, no, I think I got it. He goes, you're going to have a lot on your plate. I'll take care of the bibs. And since then, he has been. And it has been a huge weight off my shoulders just having that taken care of. And I cite him a lot as the resource because he was one of the first people to believe in me. And I really appreciate him. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, that's huge. But I can't imagine the money you have to spend, the city dealing with the city. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And then for people to sit there and go, rah, 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 it's like, okay. If you knew what went into doing this, you wouldn't be sitting here critiquing.
Yeah, there's one guy, and again, his point was valid. One of the volunteers was in the wrong spot on the course for the Talk of the Town, and they were, I want to say, the equivalent of maybe 100, 200 feet off. And so this guy ran 400 feet, because he went up and then back. He ran 400 feet off course, and he got back and gave me a ton of lashes. Bro, he was upset. He's like, I want to tell you more. He's like, you need to make sure that you know how to do all that. And he was going to town on me, man. And because he ran 400 extra feet, and I just looked at him, I told him, I was like, so you ran more than you were supposed to? He's like, yeah. And I was like, well, then you got more than what you paid for.
Exactly. Great response. Great response. And I want to tell you that when I ran the San Francisco Marathon, I ran 27 miles.
Yeah.
So that's it's
Point
great.
8 more, yeah.
I just saw a great clapback from Tiger Woods. Just clap back at this guy. I know Tiger Woods. I don't know the other golfer's name. I can't think of it. But some golfer said Tiger Woods needs to retire. He has no business playing in the U.S. Open. And they asked Tiger Woods, hey, so and so said, you should retire and you shouldn't be golfing. He goes, well, he's not a champion. I'm a champion, and I make the call when I don't play. He can't. He was told not to play. I tell them when I don't play.
Oh.
And it was like, mic drop.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Tiger, wow.
I love that line.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point, and you were mentioning earlier how, like the elites and how you consider me one. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to think of myself as one, because people think of me as like, because I go out to schools and I talk to the kids and stuff and I want to get kids involved with running, and they call me the running guy, like, oh, it's the running mom. I see him in the grocery store and I get this double take, and it's weird because like I don't feel the celebrity status or whatever it might be called, but it does feel good when I see that kids are out and about and they want to get into running, or like when they come to the events and like the mom's like, hey, can you take a picture? He wants to take a picture with you. I'm like, oh, cool, man. I'm doing 9 billion things when I'm hosting this run, but I will definitely stop and make sure I take a picture with you. And it's those moments where I'm like, I'm doing something. I know what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing.
Well, you have the light. Not everybody has that light. When you walk into, like we were at the Quick Quack car wash, you asked them and they gave you, I think, I don't know how many free car washes or whatever. I mean, they
it was a bunch of car wash. I still have those wipes.
Yeah.
Do you need to clean your car?
So, I mean, it's a light that gets people success. And not everybody has it, and not everybody can handle it. But, it's one of those things where you have that light. When you walk into a room, it definitely lights up, and it's a smile, and it's like you can accomplish anything that you want to accomplish.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's go with, we have like 2 more questions, and then we'll let you get going. It's cool that you're on vacation, though.
Yeah, I love it. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I know. I've never heard you going on vacation. Yeah. So, where are you headed to again?
I'm going to Denver. So I'm going to go out to the mountains.
Nice, and you're going to run up there.
Yeah, I'm going to run. A friend of mine that lives there has a gym too, so he said he's going to give me a crazy workout to do.
Have you ever been physically active at that elevation before?
No, I'm kind of nervous about that.
It's a mile high city, right?
Yeah, it's a mile,
5,000 something feet up.
Yeah, I think it's 5,280. That's above sea level. So the Altamont, I believe, is 1,000.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and Tahoe's pretty high up there too. I can't remember.
Yeah, I haven't worked out in Tahoe. So.
Man, so the first time ever working out in Tahoe, let me look up actually what the altitude of Tahoe is. That my first time ever working out in like that kind of elevation, I was completely taken out of my element because I didn't know. Not Tahoe Elementary, Tahoe Elevation. Oh, dude, yeah, Tahoe is 6,000.
Oh, so it's even higher than Denver.
Yeah, so the Lake of the Sky, as it's called.
Lake of the Sky.
Lake of the Sky. And I didn't know, because I've heard, I've seen when the NFL was starting to switch their games over to like other cities.
Yeah.
And we started playing at Mexico for the first time. I think the Raiders were playing in Mexico, and Mexico City's stadium is really high up.
7,000, I believe. I believe Mexico City's 7,000 above sea level.
I don't know how many feet. I'll take your word for it. And I remember watching the game, and the players had oxygen tanks out there, and they looked so winded. And I was like, does it really play that much of a factor into like what you can do when you're out on the field? And so I went to Tahoe. We were just like doing I think it was just like a date thing, my wife and I. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go for a run in the morning. She's like, okay. Out of the resort, you go up like a small little hill, and then it's just like a straightaway on like a highway. And I was like, yeah, I'll just run by the highway. It's, it's cold and crisp outside. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, a mile in, my chest was like, goof. And this is like, my prime running form. And I'm like, oh man, like what is going on? I could not do it. I had to stop at like 3 miles or so and like just get back, because I was like, and like there's no like smog, it's super clear out there, so the sun is just like zoom just straight to your face. And so the air was tight, my lungs were about to collapse. And so I get back there, she was like, how was it? And I was like, that was the worst experience. Like I was not prepared for that at all. But now every time we go to Tahoe, I tell myself like, all right, you gotta like try this out, like let's get to the point where you can do this. So best of luck for you, man. Let me know if you have the same experience.
Yeah, I'm dreading it, but then I got to get it out of my head.
I wanted to know if it was mental, if it was just like a mental thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, am I just psyching myself out because I knew
That's
about
what
the
I'm worried
elevation?
about doing. Yeah.
You know, or is it just like, is it really like a physiological thing? I wanted to know. So let me know what your experience is.
I definitely
man.
will, for sure.
Awesome. So, tell me more about your running experience. I mean, you mentioned earlier about your coach, right? Your track coach. So have you been always like a runner? Or is that...
I was a runner when I was younger in high school. And then, I was in pretty good shape through college. And then as I became an adult, I became a lot lazier.
As it happens.
Yeah. And I really stopped running and didn't have any desire to run. And then it was Valentine's Day. Larissa said, we're going to run 14 miles for Valentine's Day. And George and I were like, yeah, whatever. Running's easy. And we ran the 14 miles, and it was misery.
Yeah.
I still get PTSD when we run down Lower Sac.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that day where we did 14 miles. Misery. So we started running the 14 miles, and then, I started picking up running and doing a little bit more. And then Larissa was going to run the San Francisco Marathon, and she asked me if I'd do it. And I said, well, if my sister agrees to do it, I'll do it. And then my sister said yes. So then I agreed to do the San Francisco Marathon. And then ever since then, I've been running, and it's gotten me into really good shape, and it keeps me healthy.
That's great, man.
Plus, it makes you mentally stronger. I definitely believe it does.
Would you say that you are more... I had a conversation with Garth, who's going to be on the show later on. You've met Garth?
Yeah, I've met him.
And I asked him a while ago, because he does ultra marathons, right?
Yeah, the 100 miles, right? Or 50?
He just did one the other day. I saw it on Strava, 45 miles. And I can't even imagine, like, I did one marathon in my life, and it was miserable.
But I heard the ultras are better. I heard there's not as much competition.
Everyone's just having fun.
Yeah, they're having a good time.
Yeah, everyone's having a good time. But to run for 11 hours,
I know.
oh God. And I was talking with him. I asked him, I was like, how do you do that? And he goes, it's a big mental game. And I was like, I agree. I was like, so would you say that you're a mental runner? He goes, no. He's like, I'm terrible at my mental health and stuff when it comes to running. So would you say that like you are more like I'm going to make sure I'm strong enough for it? Or do you think that you are more in your head thinking I need to be mentally strong enough for it?
I'm mentally strong enough.
Yeah.
Because I do believe, because I asked my sister, because my sister's like her and my brother-in-law are, my brother-in-law runs a Boston Marathon in 2 hours and 45 minutes. So he's a superstar.
Must be nice.
So I know, exactly. So I asked her one time, I said, there's people that weigh a lot more than me that are a lot faster than me. And she said, it's all mental.
Yeah.
She goes, you haven't crossed that path to get over that. Once you cross that path where you can fight the pain, like, we all know David Goggins.
Yeah.
And
who's going to carry the boats?
Yeah, he's going to carry the boats. He's so mentally strong, and that's why he can run, like, because there's going to be a lot of, and I always think about this because there's a guy that said, I never measure my run on the first mile because the first mile is a lot of times awful.
Yeah.
Like, the worst part of the run is when I leave my house until I get to country club.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is horrible. Like, how am I going to do this for another 10 miles?
Yeah.
And then once you get into mile 2, you start to feel better.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the whole diet thing. You get past the first week, it's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm definitely a mental runner to where everything is in my mental. Because I don't listen to music when I run. I'm in complete silence.
Interesting.
With my head.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I can do this, and then part of me is like, well, I'll stop here or whatever, and then I'm like, no, I can't stop here. So, I'm definitely arguing with myself, fighting with myself. So I definitely would say that I'm more of a mental runner.
Yeah. Interesting. So getting into running space, obviously later, I assumed obviously that it would be just straight physical, right? Like, because in wrestling, it is mental in wrestling too, but like you've got to be physically like ready to go. And so I assumed that it was all just like a physical thing, And as I started doing this during COVID, that's when it became more mental for me. I think that because I'm running by myself, it's just me. There's no like crowd, and I don't have anybody out there to kind of hype me up. So aside from my wife texting me and I hear it through my AirPods, they're like, dude, message from wife Nessa. You got this, babe. Do you want to respond? No. But it's mental, and I think I need to get stronger mentally for like my longer runs. I think that's one thing I need to get better at, because if I feel my toes hurting, I'm like, I can wrap this on the next levy and then get home probably like in a mile and a half. And I stopped there, but I feel like I probably could go a little bit further past that. It's just the mental part that shuts down first.
Yeah, I think so. For me, I always have a set goal.
Yeah.
So I set and a lot of this has to do with I follow David Goggins. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So on Saturday or Sunday, this past Sunday, I said I was going to run. I originally said I was going to run 10 miles, and then when I started running, the first mile was a tough one. I'm like, well, if I can get to 8, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
So when I hit mile 3, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go 8. And I got to mile 4. I said, well, why not just do the full 10 like I said I was going to do?
Yeah.
And I did the 10 because I didn't want to let myself down. So if I say I'm going to run like today, I'm running 3 miles.
Yeah.
I'm going to run 3. If I get tired at 2, I'll walk.
Yeah.
I'm still in the race, right? I'm still there.
Yeah.
And I saw this other guy talk, and he was so matter of fact, and he was talking about marathons, and he goes, anybody can do a marathon. As long as you have legs and you can walk, you can do a marathon. He goes, it's not that hard. He goes, if you get tired, walk. You'll finish the 26.2 at some point.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of times, and this is where I battle it with it.
Yeah.
I battle with I know you look at the crowd as cheering.
Yeah.
I look at the crowd as haters. I look at them as like not encouraging me. I go look at like they're like, oh, this guy's slow, he's stopping and this and that. So I had to get over that. And and my thought process is, you're not out here. I'm out here running, and I'm trying to do my best. So one thing I've realized is nobody that's ever been a successful runner has ever said, well, what place did you finish?
Yeah.
It's always people that don't run that ask that question.
Yeah.
It's always what place did you finish?
That's a very good point.
Because runners don't, because my competition is not with anybody but myself. So I have to beat myself. Luckily, my prior self sucked at running.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm getting
all good from
up
here.
the victories. I'm packing up all the victories right now. And so I'm constantly competing with myself. So when I say I'm going to run 10 miles, I'm going to run 10 miles. If I have to walk, I have to walk.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get through it. So when I set that mile amount, I have to get that done. Because I don't want to let myself down.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point, man. Yeah, you're right. Damn it, I'm going to go run right now.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go, Lucas. No, these are all good points, man. And I think it depends on like where my headspace is sometimes too. I think that obviously because there's kids in the house,
God, I know.
I think one thing that also messes me up, and I don't think I've ever shared this with like even my wife, but like I'm always thinking about her when I'm on my runs, right? Like, how are the kids doing right now? She's got all 3 of them by herself.
I mean, running takes a lot of time.
It takes a long time.
So much time.
And so like I get guilty, in the middle of the run.
I get that.
And I'm just like, I'm tired anyway. And I let that psych me out where I'm just like, I got to get home to the kids. I'm tired anyway, and like I'm rushing home so I can like just make sure that she's all right. I get in and the kids are doing, she's a great mom, the kids are fine. Like, hey, how was your run? I'm like, how are the kids? That's the first thing that like popped into my head. And so, I think what I just got to do is just get it done. We'll be on a page and figure out like, hey, this is what I'm shooting for, which we always do anyway. But she never like guilt trips me. It's just me.
It's always the inner person that stops you from getting to the top in the best.
Yeah,
it's like my thing was, I would always not want to be embarrassed by where I was finishing or my time, and then that's when it hit me that runners don't care. There's nobody. Running is one of the only sports where people aren't, at least my experience, aren't talking smack to you. Like I've never had anybody run past me and go, ha ha. I've never had that happen. But I have had that happen when I've been playing baseball. People go, oh man, you're sorry, or like on the field, or basketball, or you can't hit a jump shot. And so I in those sports, I've had people talk smack to me. Yeah. Never in running have I ever heard say, oh man, you're slow today. I'm gonna dust you. Yeah. Except people that are non-runners.
I remember my wrestling coach, actually, Coach Ward. He told me that in running, it is a group of individuals. It's not a team sport. It's just a group of individuals that are all out there. They may look like a team, but it's all just you. He's like, and he related that to wrestling too. But that's how it is. And when you go out on these runs, I just see it as like, we're all just here for this. We all trained individually sometimes, and we all came from different cities. I just did the moonlight run, first time running at nighttime. So
wow,
bada bing, bada boom. There you go.
And where's that one at?
Davis. So
wow,
yeah, the Davis moonlight run. And while I was there, I'm looking around, and it's 1,400 people I think that came out, and everyone is different. I was talking to these guys. They're from, I think, Minnesota or something. I can't remember where. Somewhere in the Midwest. They call themselves the Midwest guys. And I started talking to someone else mid-run, because, I interview people and talk to them, and they didn't speak English. They weren't from here at all. And another lady was from Maryland. And these are all just back-to-back people. Every person for every mile was from a different part of the country.
That's awesome.
Or out of the country.
That's awesome.
And like, it really put in perspective, like, man, we're all coming from different places, to do something that we love doing, and that's the thing about running in a nutshell. Everyone's here for their own thing.
Yeah, and it's your own pace. And one of the fastest races I ever did was the Half Moon Bay.
Yeah.
They do a cutoff. There's a half marathon. I did the half marathon, and there's a cutoff. Like, you have to make it by this certain time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm kind of, I always wanted to run the race because I love Half Moon Bay. I said, I'm kind of nervous because that means everybody is going to be fast because there's a cutoff. And yes, everybody. So I was running, and I didn't realize I was actually going at a pretty good pace. But I'm like, I'm so far behind. I must be. And I looked at I'm like, oh, I'm actually doing what I should be doing.
Yeah.
These people are just really fast.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the last segment before we go. Also, we're about to run out of space. Okay. So we call this thing. It's our final segment. It's called the final stretch. And we're going to cover the whole 9 yards. It's 9 things that we are going to ask you, this or that. It's going to be rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Don't think too deep about it. And we are going to just get your responses. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Cool. All right. So, walking or running?
Running.
Half marathon or full?
Half.
Eat before or after a run?
After.
Trail run or road?
Road.
Hat or glasses?
Neither.
Ooh, I like
That's
that.
a new answer, right?
Yeah, neutral.
No hat or glasses.
Honey stinger or goo?
Goo.
Ew.
I like goo. I do. I like it. I love goo. I love it. I love it.
So gross. Drake or Kendrick?
Kendrick. But I like Kendrick's lyrics better.
Yeah.
Drake has a better voice. But I'm on Team Kendrick.
Okay, awesome. I think Drake's been, I think, consistently more just right here, whereas like Kendrick tries all these interesting things with his voice, and it's something, and I remember I was conflicted. So.
No, but Drake definitely has a better voice. Kendrick is a better lyricist.
Gotcha. I agree. Wine or beer?
Beer.
Okay, and the last one, I asked Lyris all this one too. I want to see what your answer is. Do you take the banana at the finish line?
Never.
What?
Never taken a banana at the finish line. Never. Not once.
Not once? Why?
It's my least favorite fruit. My least favorite fruit. I know it's good for you. I know this and that, but it's my least favorite fruit. Absolutely not. No. I'd take an orange slice any day of the week. Not a
orange slices, no bananas.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind when we do the Talk of the Town in September. On September 7th. Shameless plug. Thank you so much, Lucas, for coming on, man. It's always great because I'm always on your show.
Yeah,
it's your first time being on my show.
Yeah.
So it's cool to have you as a guest, man.
Anytime, man. I appreciate you.
No problem at all. And thank you guys for listening and or watching. This has been the Skedaddle Podcast. And before we go, I want to make sure that we thank all of our patrons on Patreon. If you want to become a patron and help out with covering things in the cost of making shows like this or covering the cost of our runs, make sure you head to the show notes to learn at www.patreon.com/StowersDoesItAll. I feel cool. I feel like Lucas right now. And I want to especially thank the patrons that have been patrons for a while. Blanca, Heather, and James. You guys are the ones that help keep this pod going. And last but not least, please make sure that if you guys like this episode, you guys give it a thumbs up, some 5 stars if you're on Spotify, and follow the Spotify Skedaddle podcast, or check it out wherever you guys listen to your podcast, be it on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, and there's one that I'm forgetting. I can't remember. Oh, we're also on YouTube and Instagram. So make sure you guys check us out there, Skedaddle, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.